Her name was Grace. Grace was only 9 years old when her world collapsed. That morning started like every other morning. Her father woke up early, washed his face, and sat quietly on the wooden chair in front of their house. He was not a rich man. He was not famous. But he was the pillar of their home. Before noon, he was gone. No long sickness. No warning. No goodbye. He slumped on the floor while eating his breakfast. By the time neighbors rushed him to the clinic, it was already too late. Grace stood outside the small room where his body lay, holding her mother's wrapper tightly. Her mother screamed until her voice disappeared. She rolled on the ground, beating her chest, asking God why. That was the day poverty officially entered their home. Grace's mother, Mama Ruth, had never gone to secondary school. She had no savings, no land, no shop. All she had were her hands, her strength, and a stubborn faith that refused to die. A week after the burial, Mama Ruth did something that surprised everyone. She borrowed money and bought raw plantain. Every morning, she roasted plantain by the roadside. Every afternoon, she roasted again. Every evening, she roasted again. Rain or sun, she stood there. Her hands burned. Her legs swelled. Her back bent with pain. But each night, she would sit with Grace and say, "My daughter, you will go to school. I will not fail you." Grace watched her mother suffer and made a silent promise in her heart. She would not waste her mother's sacrifice. Grace was different from other children. She did not play too much. She did not follow bad friends. She read her books under candlelight. Sometimes, there was no food. Sometimes, school fees came late. Sometimes, she wore torn shoes. But Grace never complained. Teachers noticed her seriousness. She will go far, they said. When Grace passed her secondary school exams with good results, Mama Ruth cried openly by the roadside. Then the miracle happened. Grace gained admission into the University of Lagos. That day, Mama Ruth danced in public, shouting, "My daughter is going to the university." Some people laughed. Some doubted. Some envied. But Grace packed her bag and entered the university with hope and fear. University life was not easy. Grace met rich students. Students who changed phones every semester. Students who ate 3 times a day. Grace was not like them. She skipped meals. She borrowed textbooks. She wore the same clothes repeatedly. That was how she met Jane and Lucy. Jane and Lucy were also poor. They came from villages. They struggled like Grace. They became friends instantly. They shared pain, laughter, and dreams. At night, they talked about the future. "One day, we will succeed," they said. They graduated with good grades. On convocation day, they hugged each other tightly. "This suffering is over," they said. But life was just getting started. NYSC separated them. Grace was posted far away. Jane went elsewhere. Lucy too. They promised to help each other when they settled. After NYSC, Grace returned home hopeful. She printed CVs. She attended interviews. But reality slapped her hard. Men looked at her body, not her certificate. Some offered help with dirty conditions. Some smiled and asked her to relax. Grace refused. Job after job rejected her. Money finished. She returned to the village empty-handed. Mama Ruth was still roasting plantain. Older. Weaker. More tired. Sometimes, Grace cried herself to sleep. Out of frustration, Grace called her friends. She told them everything. Jane sighed and said, "Grace, life is hard." Lucy said something that broke Grace. "Use what you have to survive." Grace was shocked. She refused at first. But hunger is a cruel teacher. Bills piled up. Her mother fell sick. One night, Grace packed her bag and traveled to meet them. That night, they stood outside a brothel. Grace's heart was heavy. That was where she met Mark. Mark was different. He spoke gently. He listened. He respected her. They talked many times. Love grew from a place Grace never imagined. Mark married her. He took her away from that life. He built a house for Mama Ruth. Grace thought her suffering was over. 3 years passed. No child. Mark changed. He insulted her. I met you in a brothel. You destroyed your womb. You are a witch. Grace prayed. She cried. She fasted. Nothing happened. One day, Mark brought divorce papers. He said another woman was pregnant for him. Grace signed quietly and returned to her mother. 2 weeks later, Grace found out she was pregnant. She told no one. She gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. She raised them alone. Happy. Strong. Peaceful. Mark never knew, his new wife gave birth to a daughter and they lived happily too. Grace's story teaches us that sometimes life breaks you before it builds you. Sometimes rejection hides protection. Sometimes God's blessing comes quietly.